Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sascha Fahrbach. After weeks of escalating tensions, Warsaw and Kyiv appear to be searching for a diplomatic reset. President Zelenskyy's proposal to open archives, expand exhumations, and rebuild dialogue has received a positive response from Prime Minister Donald Tusk. But the backdrop includes rising anti-Ukrainian sentiment, difficult historical disputes, and fresh political divisions in both countries. And joining us now is Bartosz Cichocki, former Polish ambassador to Ukraine. Good to have you with us. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I want to begin with the latest. On Friday, President Zelenskyy has released the so-called de-escalation package. A lot of that includes opening these archives from the security services of Ukraine. All of this related to the Volhynia massacre, all of this related to the Ukrainian insurgent army. So with what we have currently and what Zelenskyy has proposed, do you think that this is that reset we're looking for? Is this now going to change the relationship in a more positive direction, or how is this going to move forward?
I believe this is more about public maneuvering, public communication than a change in substance. The archives, in fact, have been open for more than a decade, and Polish researchers, Polish historians have been working there intensively. What President Zelenskyy suggests is that the archives keep something that would change the picture, the knowledge of Volhynia massacres that is quite well established. So President Zelenskyy does not backtrack on his position, on his view of the Ukrainian insurgent army and his, I would say, denialism of the Polish genocide by the Ukrainian insurgent army, but he changes his rhetorics in a positive way. Let's see what happens. What I like in his statement particularly, that he believes that search and exhumation of the remnants of Polish victims of the Ukrainian nationalists should continue and should actually increase. This is a good sign. If this campaign of defamation against Poland that is orchestrated by Ukrainian state ends, this would be a real step forward in our bilateral relations.
Mm-hmm. And also, you mentioned here, you've called it a public maneuvering by President Zelenskyy. I mean, also looking at what we just mentioned, the different exhumations, those public statements, more, let's say, we can call it some kind of openness and transparency. What more, let's say, could President Zelenskyy do here? What more is needed? Is that, let's say, relationship now between Ukraine and Poland damaged beyond repair? Is this now going to heal it more? What's missing, or has this now been damaged for good?
First of all, we should understand that this is not a Polish-Ukrainian controversy. This is a European concern when a leader of a country that aspires to join the European family, the family of European democracies, pays tribute to a paramilitary formation that organized and conducted an ethnic cleansing. He paid tribute to Nazi collaborator Andriy Melnik and UPA, which is responsible for more than 100,000 murdered civilians. There is no place in 21st century Europe for glorifying Nazis and mass murderers. This has to change. President Zelenskyy should clearly demonstrate his European DNA, I would say, and second, what is bilateral is this information campaign that pictures Poland as a country Ukrainophobic, aggressive,
Right now,
towards Ukrainians.
yeah, and right now also, I'm curious because we have sort of two statements coming from the Polish side, from Polish leaders, one from the government, from the Prime Minister, who said that this initiative he's now thinking Poland is ready for serious and friendly dialogue and expressing satisfaction, hope. Meanwhile, also, we have the presidential spokesman from President Nawrocki, Mr. Leszkiewicz, who's also called this announcement by Zelenskyy the first positive signal, but stressed that its implementation, not just this announcement, would be the real test. In terms of where the Polish response is right now, is that a unified policy in terms of what's happening with Ukraine, or are there two different signals coming through?
I believe that there are some unifying some elements that we agree on in Poland across the board. That first is Russian aggression. This completely unnecessary, counterproductive crisis provoked by President Zelenskyy takes place in the context of a full-scale war, and we must not lose this fact from our horizon. Second is Ukraine's transformation, which is critically important for Poland. Poland must avoid a scenario when we neighbor a failed state, economically, socially. I believe this explains this positive position answer by Prime Minister, by Deputy Prime Minister Kosiniak-Kamysz, and by the President's office. But what they say, in fact, is that, as you said, first positive step. Let's see what comes next. If we see more of denialism, this would again backtrack. This would play to the wrong side in our relationship. If we can manage through a dialogue how to avoid glorification of what must not be glorified, then we are on the right track.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, we have these political statements, and those are important to all this. But at the same time, what we're also seeing play out in the public sphere, in everyday life. I mean, we've seen a rise of attacks against Ukrainians in Poland, from basic things like graffiti to a Ukrainian woman's car, to an assault on public trams, to a man trying to defend a teenager in Poznan. I mean, these are growing in terms of incidents across the country in Poland. Do you see this as an isolated incident or a part of a growing trend? And if it is a growing trend, how do we stop that?
Unfortunately, in Poland, every year we see around 200 of those incidents. This is a nasty examples without justification. But we are 36 million country where in a very short period of time, 2 million Ukrainian citizens came in, and 200 incidents per year, I wouldn't call it a really huge problem. But when you focus your attention on it, when you connect those isolated incidents, you start to picture a nation disregarding, I would say, the reality. This is an unfortunately orchestrated campaign. We have, at the same time, every day, Poland deports 8 to 10 citizens of Ukraine for different sorts of violation of law. And nobody says that Ukrainian nation is a nation of criminals, gangsters, etc. 8 to 10 people a day. This is huge. So you are a journalist. You know much better than me how to produce something out of nothing. Of course, police should react, and indeed reacts. The courts should punish particularly strictly acts of hatred on the base of race, of ethnicity, no question about it. But at the same time, we need to realize that there is a hybrid operation behind it. That what worries me not less than those acts of hatred.
Mm-hmm. Now, as well as if we're looking at, as you said, an orchestrated campaign, interesting you mentioned that, and a beneficiary to if Ukraine and Poland don't get along is Russia. So how much, let's say if we have the evidence or not, but nevertheless, how much does this row between these two countries benefit a common enemy at the moment, which is Russia, and how much to the benefit of Russia is more of this, let's say, destructive and unfortunate business, what we're seeing right now play out here between Poland and Ukraine?
You're absolutely right. Russia is the only beneficiary of this controversy. We need to carefully work this crisis through to avoid any challenge to military support of Ukraine, to sanction policy against Russia, and to avoid any challenge to the reconstruction of Ukraine. But in the first place, it is President Zelenskyy who should think about it before he signed the decree on the heroes of UPA and the state burial of Nazi collaborator.
One quick thing, if I might just want to jump in, Mr. Ambassador, if I may, because one thing just came to my mind briefly in terms of figures you mentioned, and I think it's interesting to mention. You mentioned about for the whole year is about 200 of these incidents. In fact, the numbers that I recall now is there's about 180 reports of these kind of assaults and crimes within the first 6 months, 2026. That's a 30% rise. So with that kind of information, I think it's also worrying because, I mean, it's all connected. It's not an easy issue, and unfortunately we won't solve it today, but at the same time, thanks so much for sharing your experience and your view on this. That was former Ambassador Bartosz Cichocki, former Polish ambassador to Ukraine. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for watching World Talks, but do stay right here on TVP World for more. Goodbye.